Hello, welcome to Peza Horror Stories. Before starting the video, make sure to subscribe the channel for more horror stories. Tonight, I bring you a tale that is not just a story, but an experience. An experience that will crawl under your skin and stay with you long after the lights are out. If you are alone, I suggest you turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare yourself. Because once we begin, there's no turning back. This is not about ghosts in movies or creatures in fairy tales. This is about a real family's journey, a simple trip that turned into a nightmare no one could explain. So, sit back, relax if you can, and let the darkness take over. The story begins on a seemingly ordinary morning. The sun had barely risen when the family packed their bags into the trunk. There was laughter, excitement, the kind that always comes with a road trip. The husband at the wheel, the wife by his side, and the children in the back, giggling, fighting. Over snacks, the world outside was alive with fresh light. The road stretched endlessly ahead, cutting through golden fields and quiet villages. With every passing mile, the air smelled of wet earth, dew still clinging to the grass. Birds flew low across the sky, as if guiding them forward. Every stop along the way felt warm, inviting. At one point, they pulled over near a roadside stall, steam rising from fresh tea. The sharp aroma of fried snacks, the chatter of locals who glanced curiously at the travelers but quickly looked away. The family didn't notice it then. But those stares weren't ordinary stares. They were long, too long, like someone watching, knowing something the family didn't. Back in the car, the children soon fell asleep, their small heads resting against the window, while the husband hummed softly with the radio. The wife gazed at the landscape's mountains in the distance, their peaks wrapped in mist, rivers glistening under the pale light. Everything seemed perfect. And yet, beneath that perfection, there was something off. A silence in between the songs on the radio, too heavy, almost as if the static itself carried whispers. The air, though fresh, felt colder than it should have been. The wife shivered and pulled her shawl tighter. The husband laughed it off. They stopped once more, this time for lunch. Hot food, laughter, children playing near the car. A stranger at the next table leaned over and asked, "Where are you headed?" The husband answered casually. The man only nodded slowly, his smile fading as if he knew something but chose not to say it. The journey continued. The road grew narrower, trees crowding closer on each side. Their branches arched overhead, blocking more and more of the fading sunlight. Shadows stretched long across the car, as though the forest itself was closing in. By the time evening arrived, the laughter inside the car had quieted. The children still dozed, but the parents noticed how quickly the world outside had changed. Villages became sparse, shops disappeared. The occasional house stood abandoned, its windows broken, its doors swaying in the wind. And soon, it was just them, the road, and the darkness that waited ahead. By the time the family finally reached their destination, the sun had long disappeared behind the horizon. Their rented house stood in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by tall, silent trees. From the outside, it looked charming enough. A wooden porch, pale curtains in the windows, the kind of place you'd expect peace and rest. But peace wasn't waiting for them inside. The moment they stepped through the door, a strange stillness wrapped around the house. No sound of crickets, no rustling of leaves, nothing but a silence so heavy it pressed against their ears. The children whispered that the house smelled old, like damp wood and dust left untouched for years. The husband laughed it off, calling it a country house vibe. He turned on the light's dim flickering bulbs that barely lit the corners of the rooms. The wife tried to check her phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi, nothing, just a blank screen. She frowned, thinking it was temporary. But deep inside, a quiet unease stirred. Night fell quickly. The family settled in with their dinner, trying to ignore the silence outside. But silence has a way of amplifying every little sound. The floor creaked when no one was walking. The wind pressed against the windows, yet the trees outside stood completely still. Later that night, when the children finally slept, the wife stepped out to the porch alone. The cold night air bit into her skin. She looked around. The road they had driven down was gone in darkness, swallowed by the forest. The house stood like an island, cut off from the rest of the world. She listened. Nothing. No dogs barking in the distance. No owls, no insects. Just a silence so unnatural it made her heart race. Then, faintly, she thought she heard it. Footsteps, slow, dragging, somewhere beyond the tree line. She stared into the dark, her eyes struggling to adjust. Nothing moved. And yet, the sound came again, closer, heavier, deliberate. She hurried back inside, locking the door behind her. When she told her husband, he chuckled and said, "It's just the old house settling, or maybe an animal, don't worry." But she didn't sleep well that night, and deep in her bones, she knew. What she heard was no animal. Something was out there, watching. The second night in that isolated house brought with it a storm, sudden, violent, and merciless. The wind howled through the forest, like 1,000 voices screaming at once. Rain hammered against the wooden roof, and lightning split the sky open, throwing ghostly flashes across the living room walls. The husband decided to take the car out, hoping to find a nearby town for supplies, or at least some cell service. The wife protested, her voice trembling, but he brushed it off with forced confidence. "I'll be quick, just keep the kids calm." He started the car, headlights piercing through sheets of rain. But not even half a mile down the narrow road, the engine coughed, sputtered, and died. He tried again, nothing. The storm roared, water pouring down, trapping him in silence inside a dead machine. That's when he heard it. Knock. A slow, deliberate knock on the roof of the car. He froze, every hair on his body rising. The storm masked most sounds, but that knock was clear. Then another, louder knock, knock. His breath fogged the windshield as he stared out into the storm. Lightning flashed, and for a split second, he saw them two glowing red eyes, standing just beyond the trees. Not the reflection of an animal. No, these eyes were too high, too fixed, too human, and yet not human at all. His trembling hand reached for the car horn, but before he touched it, the alarm blared on its own, the lights flashing wildly, the horn shrieking into the storm, as if the car itself was warning him to run. Panic gripped him. He locked the doors, fumbling with his phone. Still no signal. The rain pounded harder. Then, through the streaked glass, he saw a figure. A man. Or at least, something shaped like one. Tall, lean, dripping wet, standing in front of the car's headlights. His face obscured by shadows, his body motionless, except for the slightest tilt of his head. As if studying him, the husband's heart thundered in his chest. He dared not blink, dared not breathe too loudly. Then the figure moved, slowly, one step, then another, coming closer, closer, until the man was right at the hood of the car. The red glow in his eyes pulsed, brighter like embers, burning inside his skull. He lifted his hand, long pale fingers, and dragged them across the windshield with a screech that cut through the storm. The husband screamed, fumbling for the keys, turning them again and again. The engine roared to life, as if by miracle. Without another thought, he slammed his foot on the accelerator, splashing through the mud, speeding back toward the house. But in the rearview mirror, for just a heartbeat, he swore he saw the figure still standing in the road, watching, waiting. The children peeked from the corner of the room, their small voices trembling, asking if everything was all right. He looked at them, then at his wife, and simply shook his head. "We're leaving, first thing in the morning." No arguments. That night, no one slept. They sat together in the dim light of a lantern, listening to the storm rage outside. Every creak of the wooden house, every rattle of the windows, made their hearts pound faster. But somehow, the night passed. When the morning came, the storm was gone. The husband burst through the front door, drenched, shivering, his chest heaving like he had outrun death itself. His wife rushed to him, clutching his face, eyes wide with terror as he stammered about red eyes, knocking sounds, a man in the storm. The sun rose golden over the mountains, the valley painted in breathtaking beauty. Birds sang as if nothing had happened. The family stepped outside, exhausted, but relieved to see daylight again. They even tried to distract themselves with a short sightseeing walk, the children pointing at flowers, the wife snapping a photo of the mist rolling off the hills. But no matter how stunning the morning was, the husband's eyes always drifted back toward the forest, toward the road. toward the memory of those glowing red eyes. The trip that began with excitement now ended with silence. They packed their bags, loaded the car, and drove away without looking back. And though they never spoke of it again, a single truth lingered in their hearts. That place was never meant for them. Some homes, no matter how peaceful they look from the outside, carry secrets that should remain untouched. So, if you ever find yourself alone, far away from the world, and you hear knocking in the middle of the storm, remember this family's story, because not everything is as it seems. This was today's tale from Peza Horror Stories. If you want more real horror experiences, make sure to subscribe and keep the lights off when you return, because the darkness is always watching.